Christina,
John.
how are you? I'm super excited today. So Christina is using me as a guinea pig. She is a therapist who is incorporating astrology into her sessions, which I think is very interesting. So first, tell us a little bit about that. What is going to be your way in?
Oh, my way in. That's so I don't know that I'll actually be using it as a therapist, like under my license,
Hmm.
just because of all the legalities and so forth. But
Sure.
I have been studying astrology since I was a kid, and there's so much
Mm,
correlation. And when I found Deborah Silverman, who I study astrology under, she is also a psychotherapist, and she actually her master's thesis was on the correlation between astrology and psychology.
mm,
And astrology is more of a Jungian based type
yep.
of
Yep.
therapy, because Jung was very much about astrology. So it's very interesting to me because it shows patterns in a person's personality. It shows,
Hmm.
it can even tell you like the struggles that you've had in life. It can tell you if you're going to be struggling in life, and like
Wow.
just there's a lot of different things that you can learn about yourself through astrology from a psychological perspective. So I'm excited to do this with you because, well, you are a therapist and you've been doing your work for so long, anyways. And it'll be interesting to be able to deep dive into this on a therapeutic level.
Yes, and depending on how personal we get or what kind of information is revealed, this will either be a podcast episode or not. But I think it goes hand in hand. I really think that astrology, especially because you mentioned Carl Jung, and also depth psychology. I think astrology and psychology is really peanut butter and chocolate. I think more and more people are integrating the two.
Absolutely.
There's a
Absolutely.
natural
And
there's a natural bridge from one to the other and back and forth.
absolutely. So, well, are you ready to start?
All right, let's do it. Yeah.
Okay. So first we start off with you've had an astrology reading before, right? You've had your chart looked at?
Oh yeah, I've had many. I've had many. Yeah.
Many. Okay. So this is going to be really interesting. So I want to find first, we're going to establish like a timeline. Okay. I want to kind of see what has gone on in your life. So think back to like 1994, 1995. What was going on in your life at that time?
Mm, college. So I graduated high school in 1991. Most people listening were just an idea. 91, 92, 3, 4. So yeah, college. Almost graduating college. Majoring in screenwriting and not knowing what I wanted to do with my life other than to write screenplays.
Okay. So then let's fast
Yeah,
forward to 2002. What was going on for you?
94. I think at that time I was uh, in a relationship. I don't know if I was engaged, but wait, how old was I in 2002? So I have to do some math. I'm not really good at math. So 91, I was 18. So if 91 I was 18, 2002 I was what?
Oh, you're asking me to do math? I'm just as
Yes.
bad.
Is this
It's
where
a,
the
it,
episode stops? Math is going to stop our episode. Wait, 91, 92, 93,
it
94,
was
5, 6,
around 30, like somewhere between like 28 and 30 or
30.
something like that.
Yes. So I got a divorce at 35. So that means that, okay, so 2002, I just got married. And I was doing
Mm,
windmills on a farm in Oregon. We had this big wedding in Oregon. And then I thought it was the beginning of my life. So moving into a little apartment in Toluca Lake and yeah, running toward that picket fence. That was 2002.
okay. And then what about 2016?
More math. 2002, 3, 4, 5,
Sorry.
6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so 2016. Now I was divorced. Because I remember 2010 as being kind of my rebirth. Started the blog, The Angry Therapist. Found CrossFit. broke and just rebuilding my life. So that was 2010. So 2016 would be 6 years after that. So I think at that point I was already in another relationship. Um, and by this time I was like 40. 35 was 2010. Yeah, I was in my 40s, early 40s. So another relationship, 3-year deal, living with this person. I believe I had a little parrot. We named him Banksy, and I was scared to hold him because I'm scared of animals. And yeah, and at this time I was fully, in my um, career. So I think I had just sold a book, my first book, and started a life coaching platform and all that.
Okay. So the reason I ask those questions is because Saturn is the planet that really kind of gets you going in your life. It's kind of like at certain
Mm.
points where it's hitting your chart, it's like life-changing events, it's really activating your chart. So those
Oh,
are
so with those
three
years that
pretty,
you pointed out, Saturn has been I was tapping Saturn at those years. You're saying
yes,
interesting, right?
yes. So
And
it
so
makes sense. Like it's the
is Saturn like gas?
disciplinarian.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
disciplinarian.
like
Okay, got it.
yeah, it's like wherever it's hitting in your chart, like
Hmm.
it's setting you up to move forward in your life on whatever path
As I'm
you're going to be
as I'm
going in.
cutting you off, I need some Saturn right now to discipline myself to just shut up and
No,
listen.
that's a whole different thing, but we'll get to
That might
that.
be Aries coming out. Okay. But okay, so interesting. I never heard that before. So Saturn tapping into and it seems like you're doing this by decades. No?
Well,
Roughly
yeah,
like
so
10 years
Saturn,
ish.
well, kind of. It looks at a lot of different things, but Saturn is like Deborah really focuses on Saturn just because it's like the karmic. It's really
Mm.
wherever Saturn is in your chart, that is what you are meant to be learning in this lifetime. And I'll
Oh,
get into
interesting.
that later on in the reading because of where your Saturn is actually located in your chart.
Got it. Got
Yeah.
it.
So now we're going to talk about your character and your personality. So obviously, if you've had your chart read, you know that you're an Aries sun, a Cancer moon, and a Gemini rising.
Hmm.
So what that means is that you are a leader, you are determined, you are passionate, you can be a little bit impulsive, also very
Yes.
confident, but also
Hmm.
very impatient sometimes and
Yes, for
courageous.
sure.
So
Yes.
that's all Aries, right?
Yep.
Now the other parts of you, the side that I can see it, but that's because I'm a trained eye. Not a
Hmm.
lot of people would see this because this is more like the inside of you. That's the Cancer moon, where you're the
Mm.
healer. You're very
Oh,
nurturing.
yeah.
Cancer is the sign of the mother. So that's that like nurturing side of you where almost the feminine aspects of you. You like to be at home sometimes, even
Hmm.
though your Aries fights with you on that.
Yes.
So it's like that very sentimental, a little bit can be on the codependent side, depending on
Hmm.
the situation and who the relationship is with. So
Yes.
that's that internal side that you don't really show to a lot of people. And actually, it might even be parts of yourself that you don't even necessarily want to accept. Or maybe at one point in your life, you didn't want to accept, but you were more accepting of it now.
Yeah, and I think it's the strongest in intimate relationships, that side.
A
More
hundred
so than
percent,
in
because it's
friendships or with like family or yeah.
I like to look at the moon as kind of the shadow self. So, that shadow
Mm.
side that we all have.
Mhm.
Now,
Mhm.
shadow, that's a whole different topic, but yeah. And the shadow is what really gets stimulated in relationships. So,
Wait, real quick. You said that my rise because I don't know this lingo. My rising is Cancer and something is
no,
Gemini. What was it? What was it?
no, your moon sign is
Oh,
Cancer.
my moon is Cancer, right? And then what else? What
Yes.
did you say?
Your rising is Gemini.
My rising is Gemini. Okay. And what are the
So,
characteristics of Gemini?
the Gemini and being as your rising sign, that's the mask you wear. That's how you cope
Mm.
in life. That's how you present yourself to people. So Gemini, very talkative, very social, very
Yeah.
curious,
Yeah.
gentle, very adaptable, sometimes inconsistent. That's your downfall of the Gemini rising.
Yes.
And you can
All my
also
partners love that about me, my inconsistency.
and then also you can tend to be a little bit on the anxious side, like kind of fidgety, moving
Mm-hmm.
around a lot,
Mm-hmm.
like not
Also
wanting to
maybe
sit
a
still.
anxious attachment too.
Oh, 100%. And I would love
Yeah.
to deep dive into all of that with you at some point. I don't think I could do that in a 40-minute session
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
though. Because that correlation I have noticed so much with doing birth charts, like attachment styles and all
Oh,
of that,
that's
all the
interesting. Right.
traumas.
Right.
I can
Yeah.
pick out traumas and how things present and everything. So
Mm.
yeah, but that is like your character, that is your personality. And seeing as when I was talking, you were agreeing with me a lot. Tell me a little bit about what it's like to hear me. I mean, I know you in some ways, but I don't know you very personally. But yet I
Sure.
was able to share with you a lot of personal parts of who you are as a person.
I think so. It gives you buy-in, right? So as you're describing me, if I'm agreeing with you and it lands for me, then what's happening is it builds trust. Also, I'm now more curious. My ears perk up. I also want to know how. I mean, ultimately, therapy, astrology, it all comes down to understanding self better, right? I mean, that's what life is about, right?
Yes.
So, you helping me understand myself is of value tremendously, right? So, but that being said, I also, there is a little bit of a skeptic in me in that I do agree with everything we're saying, but they're also very broad,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
maybe as you get deeper, you get more specific. But generally, yes, the things that you're saying are true, and that it's a pretty good description of me.
So let me talk to the very broad piece, right? Yes, some
Hmm.
of it is very broad. However, some of it is very specific to you, but you wouldn't necessarily know that because you are you.
Oh,
You're
because I
you.
only see it through my own lens. You're saying,
Exactly.
yeah,
So other like the things that you find super easy in life, others won't,
right,
right? So when I'm talking to you, yeah, this resonates with you. It can be, and the thing is that astrology, one thing that I think is confusing with astrology is every one of us has all of the elements within us and all of the
hmm,
signs, that because we're in the galaxy, right? So we all have it. It's just some are more prominent in birth charts than others.
right.
So, and
Now, I
I
think
can
I think
go
also
into
people.
generational oh, go ahead.
No, but I was gonna say I think people also mistake astrology for like fortune telling. I myself too. Like when I do astrology sessions, I'm like, well, here's a project that's happening that's giving me a lot of anxiety. Is it going to happen? Is this going to
Yeah.
happen? And I think astrology can help with like at what time something the stars will line up. But it's astrology is not meant to like tell your future, correct?
So the way that I talk about it in regards to that specifically is we take the energies that are currently in the sky and we can look in the past and see what was happening in history back at
Mhm,
those times, right? So that's how
mhm,
predictive astrology works. You can some people might be able to predict it down to like the exacts, but very few people it's exacts. It's we know a basic energy, we have an idea of what's going to happen and where things are going to go, but we don't know for a fact. Like, for instance,
right.
back in 2016, that was the first time I heard an astrologer talking about the fact that we were going to have a plague in 2020. So
Oh,
astrologers
wow.
were talking
Mm,
about a
right,
plague coming
right,
in 2020, but they didn't know how it was going to show up. They
right.
didn't know that the way that it showed up was going to be how it showed up. But we all, like, astrologers knew something was coming. So,
So,
yeah.
based on your reading with me, now in 2023, uh, what do you see things coming? So in different areas of my life, or what's not coming, or what I should be what I should be
So
aware of?
we're gonna get to that. I
Okay.
don't
See,
really.
this is
I'm
me
not
being
doing.
impatient. This is me being impatient, clicking
Exactly.
in real
But
time.
this
Yeah.
is amazing. This is amazing. So let's talk about. Okay, so we talked about who you are as a person. Now let's
Mm,
talk about like certain aspects in your chart that are pretty significant. So one, you have Venus, the planet of love, and your sun like pretty much on top of each other in
mm.
Aries. Okay,
Okay. What does that
that's
mean?
pretty significant. That's very significant.
In
So
what way? What does
what
that
that
mean?
means is, okay, so you love bringing people together.
Yes, I
You
do.
have a
I'm a
very,
connector.
I know you do.
Yeah.
You have a very beautiful balance of masculine and feminine energy because Venus is the feminine and the love, and the sun is the masculine, right? That
Mm,
so those two energies combined, and then both of them being in Aries. I mean, Aries is the god of war. So definitely more masculine, but you do bring in that beautiful feminine energy to your masculine. And not only that piece, but you also have a couple of other aspects in your chart that have that too. So you are affectionate, you love to entertain, you're very charming and very charismatic. Now
some people will
also with
disagree.
this, oh, I'm sure. Well,
Yeah.
now let me get to that. So, because that's also in the 11th house. So now I don't expect you to understand what that means, but the 11th house is all about social. It's all about community.
Mm,
So
mm,
you're meant to be a leader in the community. But
mm,
because of these other aspects and other aspects in your chart, you're going to be one of those leaders that you're going to draw a lot of male and female attention. And anybody
mm.
who is trying to be maybe in a romantic relationship with you, they're not going to like that so much. So you would have to have a very special type of partner that can handle all the type of attention that you are naturally going to draw to you.
Well, can I tell you something? So my current partner, Vanessa, um, she's like the most non-jealous person I've ever met in my life. And I feel like we were supposed to meet because there's this like a weird kind of almost like that was what's prescribed, or that's the only kind of person that I'm going to be able to dance with.
Mhm.
Which is strange. Like she's genuinely not even acting. She was just a very confident, secure, non-jealous, open person, and probably the most out of all my exes. And so that's really interesting that you say that. Is that what I what I need is someone that is not going to be grabby. And she I would actually want her to be more grabby. She's more like on the
I was
yeah.
actually just going to say you need somebody who is very confident but
Hmm.
also is a little bit like, "Hey dude, come here. No, we're not you're not doing that. Come on." Like
Oh
they
yeah, yeah,
actually
yeah.
need to show
She needs to
you
tell me
still
what's up.
that yeah, she needs to have a little bit of that jealousy just to make sure that you know that she's still into you and that she still wants you, and that you're also the center of her world and she's the center of yours, if that makes
Yeah, and
sense.
I don't know if the word's jealousy. I think it's like she knows what she wants in life. She knows what she deserves, and her
Mhm.
expressing those needs, that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, okay. So keep going.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Okay. So you also have Chiron, which Chiron I don't usually talk about Chiron in a
Hmm.
chart, but it's I'm going to because one, it's also conjunct this Venus and this Sun. And Chiron is the wounded warrior. And it's not even a planet, it's just a constellation, but it's gotten a lot of like recognition. And I'm starting to believe that it is the when you have your Chiron return, that is your midlife crisis because you have
Hmm.
your Chiron return around the age of 50. So you just went through your Chiron return. And
Oh.
you were born with Chiron on top of your sun and on top of the Venus. So what that means is you love to help others and you have a
Hmm.
very, very strong sense of who you are. And even if like throughout, obviously throughout life, you learn who you are through age, but even at a young age, and I'm actually curious about this, I like even at a young age, you still knew who you were. You had a sense of who you were. And then it just kept growing. So I'm curious if that is accurate or not.
I think at age 10 to, that age, and I just know because I worked in nonprofit. We kind of live in a fatherless nation, lots of kids, just going through trauma, abuse, and all that. Um, the ages where I should have been abused or bullied or have had things happen to me, I got very lucky in that from my wonder years, the 80s, from 10 to 12, 13, um, Fat Laces, Windbreaker, Boombox spinning on my head, chasing flow states at that age, and breakdancing, being a part of a crew where the bigger kids kind of took care of me, which protected me,
Mm,
created this kind of safe container for me to um, tap into my solid self. So I just remember the I didn't seek approval. I was a kid, of course. To a certain extent, wanted to be accepted and loved and all that. But I was pretty confident in that. I don't know if the word's confident, but I was pretty happy with myself and with life and building things. I had no problem playing with myself for till whether it's popping wheelies on my bike or playing with Legos for hours on end. Um, of course, I chased girls and stuff like that, which you know uh, meant seeking something, love, approval, validation. But as far as comfort in self, I didn't go through any bullying or anything that kind of
mm,
most people do that shatters their self-esteem. And then
yeah.
my parents were never home, so I was kind of it forced me to be social and to hang out with the neighborhood kids. So I feel like I was raised by pop culture. Uh, so maybe that's
Yeah.
that's part of it. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was a young age, that things were going good. Like you always
Yeah,
had a level of self-confidence and so forth. So I want
I
to
was
also
thirsty for
ask,
life at 10 and 12. I was thirsty for life and curious more so than
yeah,
scared and realizing that the world is dangerous. Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's a combination of being an Aries and having that much Aries energy, but
Mm.
also because Chiron in that space just gives you that sense of self. Now, the other aspect, and I'm curious, how do you, are you like just almost like one of the most unique people have you been told that you are a very unique person and that you do not fit into any box and you are always busting open boxes and never following the status quo?
No, that's that would be amazing to hear, but no, I don't see myself that
Really?
way. Yeah, I don't really get those kind of compliments.
Hmm.
I mean the compliments I get is the whole thing about like I tend to build the bus while I'm driving it. So sometimes, and that I thought was a curse, now
So
I think is more of a gift. If
that
I
okay.
kind of I get obsessed with things, so I could, if I get obsessed with writing a book, I can knock them out pretty quick. So stuff like that. But what you just said is a pretty big compliment. I've not received that things like
So, okay, the
that.
fact that you think that that is a compliment says what I'm talking about in regards to you have
Oh, it's not
you
a
have an
compliment.
no, 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 no. It is, so it is a compliment, but it's not to everybody. Not everybody wants to be
Mm,
super unique. And some people
right.
want to fit into boxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like
Mm-hmm.
I look at the fact that you build a bus as you're driving it, that is
Yeah.
not many people would do that. You take charge, you're willing to move forward and be outside of the box and not live
Mm,
based off of what society wants you to do. That
right.
is, you have Uranus opposite your sun, and that right there is that. And I actually have that in different signs, but I also
Mm,
have that Uranus sun opposition. So I was like, oh, that is so interesting. So yeah, that is because Uranus is all about being very unique, and then the sun opposition of
yeah.
that, it's like there's this, you are meant to be somebody who is not just fitting the status quo.
Christina, it's interesting because what you're doing now is unique. I mean, just you saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, John, let me use you as a guinea pig. I want to do this," and we didn't talk about it. We just started. So like,
Yep.
it's almost like both of our energies, kind of connecting and
Uh-huh.
creating this little, time capsule. This episode.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we'll get to that in the a little bit too.
Hey, Rick,
So
quick
the
question. Is Venus on top of the sun? Let me ask you, as far as like sex and intimacy, does that make it
oh
fiery? Because
so
when you say Venus on top of the sun, I'm thinking like, wow, that sounds exponential
yeah,
when it comes to something heated.
yes. So when you're going to be very explorative, but also like in love, what is going to happen is if you are with a partner that is not able to keep your attention, if they cannot meet you on a physical, emotional, intellectual level,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to lose interest in them.
Or
And
mm,
that and this is not specifically that Sun Venus conjunction, that's more Venus in Aries. You
mm,
can fall in love very quickly and you can fall out of love very quickly,
yeah, I can see
especially if
that.
they are not stimulating, like if they are not keeping up with you. If you get bored,
Yeah.
you're out.
Mm. Well,
Yeah.
I think less today than, but that is definitely a pattern of mine. But I think less today as a 50-year-old man with a family, But yes,
Of course. So you have
I'm
to
a lot
think
more
about this
grounded.
from, yeah, you have to think about like who you were throughout your life, because that's something that's going to be throughout your life, but you're going to learn, because
Mm,
when you work your birth chart, that means you're learning the lessons that you were meant to be learning in your life.
mm,
And
got it.
one of them, so I also have that Venus in Aries. I actually have Venus and Mars in Aries. So
Hmm.
we'll talk about this a little bit later, but I very much understand that Venus and Aries energy. And it is that you fall in love quickly, you can fall out of love quickly, especially if
Hmm.
they are not keeping your attention, because you're just
Mm,
always wanting to keep going.
yeah,
So, yeah, yeah. But of course, and I can
which
talk,
I'm
like,
not
I know
proud
that,
of.
well, but here's the thing.
Yeah,
It's not about being proud of it. It's about like you talk a lot about how you just learn from your past and you move on, right?
yeah,
That's what
yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
is. Like you can't get stuck in your past. You have to, once you understand it, which is what the astrology teaches you to, this is just who you are. And these are the
Hmm.
life lessons that you have to learn. Now, if I would have done this reading for you 30 years ago, it may have changed. You may have been more aware of that and
Sure.
saw that more as a pattern than, now that you're 50, you've already done it all. And you're like, oh, wait, yeah, that was a pattern for me. It's a little bit less now because I'm a little bit more grounded. I'm older. You also have a partner who, if I remember correctly, Vanessa's a Taurus, and
Yes,
that
yes.
grounds you. A Taurus
It
is
grounds us,
going
but it's
to
also,
ground
it's
you.
also a horn sign. So it also, Aries. We also, yes.
You butt
There's that, and
heads.
then, but also, I never heard that grounds me. That's really good to hear, and she definitely
Yeah,
does
and
ground me.
I'll get to that too. Okay.
Mhm.
So the other aspect in your chart, and this is probably, you'll feel this, is you have what is called a cardinal T square. And what that does is it's a lot of tension in your life. It sets you up to have a lot of aspects in your life, that things that you have to overcome. Like, I know a little bit about your story of how, you have
Mhm.
immigrant parents and you've had to overcome a
Yep.
lot just being immigrants in America. And that alone is one aspect of what this cardinal T square would be. I
Mm.
don't know, like, I'm sure that there's other stories that you can share about difficulties that you've had in life. Like, obviously you didn't get bullied, but
Yeah.
in what other ways have you struggled in life and like
Sure.
had a
I
lot
mean,
of
yeah, there's tons of
tension?
struggle.
Ex-
I'm a loner. I'm not like
mm,
I've been kind of a loner. I there's a show. This is totally dating myself, but there was a show called Kung Fu back in the '80s. David Carradine.
I used to watch it.
Yes, so it was I think it was meant for Bruce Lee, but because Bruce Lee was Asian and at that time, racist. They I think David Carradine was half Asian or he was Caucasian. Anyway, he was a guy that just kind of went from village to village, got involved in story, contributed, helped, connect, fought, and then moved on to the next village. And for some reason, I always related to that person's story because I feel like my life has panned out to be like that. I mean, even though I'm technically in a relationship, I feel like a loner. Like I think that at my core, it's
Hmm.
like I'm in my garage alone. I, do these podcasts alone. I help people, and then I kind of move on to the next community, help people connect, and then so I've always felt like a loner in my life. That's always been, um,
That
yeah.
is
And I'm
that
also an
is
introvert.
so well. No, you're an extroverted introvert. You have both
Well,
sides.
I have extrovert skills, of course, but I think at the core, I think
Yeah.
I charge alone, recharge alone.
Well, that's your Cancer moon.
Mm,
That's that internal space. That's that Cancer
yeah,
moon.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So now having a cardinal T square, that makes you very ambitious. You jump right in and
Mm,
you are always striving for success. You are never sitting
yeah.
still. You always have a new idea. You are always like jumping feet first. You don't care
Almost
if
too
it's going
much.
to work or not. Exactly.
Yeah,
You almost have to pull
yeah,
yourself back. So
yeah.
that's that cardinal T square. Now, I'm really curious to know if anything was going on in like 2014, like what was going on from 2014 to like 2017, 18? What was going on in your life?
2014 to 18. Man, my memory's shot. So, I always started 2010 because that was kind of the bookmark, the dog-eared page of my life where it kind of was that was the rebirth. So 4 years after that, 2014, 18. I think I was in a relationship. I think that was the one with I was in it was long distance. Met her on Tumblr. She eventually moved to LA, and we had like a 3-year relationship. Um, Working in nonprofit, wearing the uniform, um, felt
Is
like
that
I
when you
wasn't
were
getting
working on your
anywhere in life.
hours?
Working on my hours, yeah, I think I was on my way or very toward the end of becoming licensed. Uh, just just blogging and trying to find life in my life. I didn't feel successful or anything like that.
Yeah. So with with a T square, it's basically like a triangle, and then there's an
Hmm.
exit point, right? Well, it just so happens that at that exit point is one of the aspects in astrology that's your fate. It's called your
Mm,
North Node. And again, I
mm,
don't typically talk about these aspects, but I feel like it's a significant thing here because your North Node is in that release point. And at that time, Pluto was transiting that North Node. So it's like Pluto's like death and destruction. So it was basically a death and destruction of um your career, like the things in your career you were rebuilding. You were,
mm,
that's when you were pivoting from being well, you were still a writer, but were not, you were then also becoming a therapist. So you were in
yeah,
this transition of becoming who you currently are, combining being a writer and now being a therapist.
yeah.
Yeah. So I always liked that. That's again, just a timeline thing. I just think that
Hmm.
that's really cool.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
let's talk about the balance of the energies that you have in your chart. So in
Okay.
Deborah Silverman's school, we focus a lot on the elements: air, earth, fire, water, right?
Mm,
So fire is all passion, drive, like being out there, outgoing. Air, talkative, intellect,
mm,
humanitarian,
mhm,
like the balance, the scales, justice, right? Social justice.
yeah.
Water is all about emotion. It's all about the flow of life, right?
Right,
Going
right,
with the flow. And then earth is about being grounded. It's about being
right.
practical. It's the practicalities of life. Well, you, John, have no earth in your chart. None.
Thank you.
No earth at
I'm all
all.
fire, no earth. Oh yeah,
No,
yeah. I'm
actually,
like a balloon that was
you're
let
actually,
go and it's just floating.
well, but that's the thing. You're actually more air. You have
Mm,
5 planets in air signs. 5. That is a lot of air. And you
Yeah.
have, it's not super tight, but you have what would be considered a grand trine, okay? Or a trine in your chart, meaning you have planets in all of the air signs, which what that means is that you naturally are very talkative. You are a
Yeah.
natural storyteller. You are a natural humanitarian. You are a natural, like, social justice warrior, all of that. So
Mm.
that's like, I feel like that's a lot of what your career is. Maybe not the social justice piece. I think
Yeah, I
the
don't see a
for
lot of social
me,
justice. I feel like I need to do more of that, but that doesn't come naturally.
well, and let me say this because of the one aspect that you have in Libra, because Libra is more like the social justice because it's the scales, the balance.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, you have Pluto in that, and Pluto in Libra is all about like the changing the structure of the traditional marriage. So from that perspective and knowing what you do for your career, that absolutely makes sense to me because
Mm.
you don't like, you're helping people break down that like typical construct of what we've always known as a marriage, right?
Right. So new
The
blueprints, new love
codependence,
blueprints. Right.
exactly. So
Yeah.
that to me is that piece, that social justice aspect of your career. So
Oh,
you have
interesting.
a lot of air, and you are very, very, very intellectual. And if you have to always be like, and when I say intellectual, you just always have to be stimulated. Your brain is always going, and
Well,
you're
when you
always
say
looking for new
intellectual, I
things.
don't feel like because I don't feel like I'm a smart person. I feel like C
Ah,
students, SAT scores were shit. Never went to Ivy League schools. So I mean, I've always been creative and always loved to create. Always been ambitious, but I don't feel like I'm a quote unquote smart. And so when you say intellectual, that's a little bit confusing to me. But I think what you mean by intellectual is just my brain is always going and needs to be stimulated.
well, hold on. So intellectual does not mean formal educationally smart, because
Right. Yeah.
intellectual
That I like.
rises in, to me, intellectual actually rises above standard. Like,
Mm,
to me, intellectual is more of the gifted. They think out of the box. They don't,
mm,
it, just because you didn't do well in like actual school, school is it's a construct, right?
mm,
Intelligence is wisdom. Intelligence
mm.
rises above the Ivy League education. Takes what the Ivy League education would be and brings it to earth.
Got it.
Brings it to, like, does that make sense? So when
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
look
yeah.
at you, I do see high intelligence because you don't fall into the box and you use all your life wisdom
Mhm.
to create something different. And that is the intelligence aspect of it.
What a great ego boost as a gift for me on a Tuesday. This conversation.
That is what astrology, that is what Deborah Silverman's astrology is all about. That's why, like,
Oh,
I talk
ego
about,
boosting compliments.
well, but it's not ego boosting, it's being able to balance. So everybody has strengths and everybody has weaknesses, right?
Weaknesses, right, right, right. We're just
we
talking about my
we
strengths. Yeah,
live, yeah, but no, because I mean, there's strengths within weaknesses and weaknesses within strengths, right?
right,
So like
right,
some of the
right.
weaknesses that we've talked about is you can be too impulsive, right? You can
Yes,
jump
yes,
too quickly.
yeah,
You need to slow yourself down, which these are things that you have learned throughout your life. You
yeah,
are not grounded. You do tend to jump from not jump from
hmm,
relationship to relationship, but you can, jump in
yes,
and out of love very quickly. Those are the
yes,
things that you have not liked about yourself so much, but it's okay. You move past it, you learn your lesson, and you go on, right? So everybody has those aspects. This is very much why I like to use astrology in lieu of psychology, because to me the psychology based model in America is very deficit based, whereas
hmm,
this is very strengths based. And
hmm,
when you're giving somebody the good things about them, or even taking the not so great things about them that they struggle with, and you're reframing it for them, it actually helps them get into who they are really meant to be. And then it balances out. You're always
yeah.
going
It
to have
reminds
those
me
parts
of
of you that you're not liking.
It reminds me of positive psychology, right? Focusing on
Ex-
strengths
yeah.
more so than weaknesses. And also, when you said that I've got 5 planets and I've got a lot of air, many may agree in that I'm I'm an airhead, that I have a lot of air in my head. But you're saying something different. Anyway, sorry,
Yeah.
little bit of me trying
Okay.
to be fun.
But airhead, yeah, I mean, the airhead aspect, right? That's, there's nothing wrong with that because yes, you need somebody to kind of guide you,
Hmm.
but that airhead is what gives you your intelligence. That airhead is what gets you to where you are today. And like
Yeah.
you are, you, you're pretty big in the industry. You have written several books. You have, you've had several different communities. You have brought a lot of people together. So that airheadedness, yeah, it can come with some struggles, but when you know what element you need to kind of guide you, then it doesn't have a negative impact on your life anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah. 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 What can we talk a little bit
So,
about the future? When just because
yes,
I'm looking at time too.
yes.
Um, but
So, well, I want to tell
finish
you,
what you're
you
doing,
need,
and then that'll be the last chapter of this.
yeah. So you need to bring more earth into your life. So I know you have
Yeah.
Vanessa who's a Taurus, and that's grounding, but there's ways that you can incorporate earth into your life. Go out and hug a tree. I tell people that if you have no earth, like legit, go out and spend some time hugging a tree
Well,
or just sitting
since
in
my Venus is on top
grass.
of Saturn, since my Venus is on top of Saturn, I'm
It,
going to go out and hump
no,
a
it's your
tree. That's
son.
more of my
Your
style.
son. Yeah,
Oh,
and
my
that's
son.
fine.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to go into what I
I
was
might
just
get
going to say, but
arrested.
we'll exactly make sure the tree's in your backyard.
Wait, Roy,
um,
can I just insert something real quick? So this I love, and I think it's helpful for anyone who does a session with you, because I know you're going to want feedback from me. Is okay. So John, here's what we know about you, and I like that you're giving me homework. I like that you're saying here are some
mhm,
ingredients that need to be added to your life, which will create balance or potency, and that is you need to be more grounded. And as you're saying that, I'm thinking, what's my definition of grounded? Now, I'm not going to hug or hump a tree. That's not my style, but um, I do go out to nature more than I've ever done before because of our
there
retreat
you go.
house. So you know
Hmm.
what really grounds me is my motorcycle grounds me when I'm on my bike
Hmm.
riding. So I try to get that in daily. And then I've been doing ice plunges, and I wonder if that also counts as grounding me. And then of course,
100%.
fitness since 2010, I've just been doing fitness every day, and that to me, that's my meditation that grounds me.
Yeah. So anything that gets
So
you
it
in your
doesn't have to
body.
be nature. It doesn't have to be like Earth,
Mm-mm.
you know?
No, no, I just always say go literally go hug a tree, like because that's the easiest thing to do for somebody when they're
Yeah,
needing
yeah,
to
yeah,
ground.
yeah.
But
Sure,
no,
sure.
anything that's going to get you into your body, that is what's going to
Yes,
ground you.
yes. Anything like and makes
Okay.
you very present out of your head into your body. Agreed.
Yes. The way that I describe,
Can
like, sorry,
sorry,
the
go
way
ahead.
that the way that I've described this with somebody else that has so much air but no earth is it's like you're a bird without a tree to perch on. You need to find your perch, right? So you
Yes,
need to find
yes.
something to sit on. And so your
Ah,
motorcycle, your ice
right,
plunge, your,
right.
your gym, that stuff is what grounds you.
Real quick, so do I have more air than fire?
You have more air than fire. Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, you have a lot, but air fuels fire. So even
Yeah.
though, so
Right.
you have three planets in fire, you have five planets in air. So you have a lot, and also because your main your your sun is in fire, that's a big fire piece. So
Hmm.
all of that air is going to just fuel that fire. It's going to make that fire big. It's going to give you your
Yeah,
passion.
yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah,
your
bonfire.
writing, your communities, your that stuff, that is what fuels your fire. That's what fuels your passion.
Mm,
Okay. So now
got it.
transits, current transits that are happening again, Chiron is now coming back and
Hmm.
it's on top of your Chiron. It's on top of your sun. It's on top of your Venus. So you're going through a major transformation in just who you are as a person, right?
Yeah, I
And
feel
I've been
that. I
watching
feel
you
that.
over the last few months, and I can definitely tell
Mhm.
that you're in a transition. You've been openly talking about it, but that is what is happening right now. Then you also have Mars conjunct your Pluto. Now, what that is, I don't really know how this is going to play out. Mars in Aquarius is like, again, it's that fire planet in an air sign, right? And it's all about
Mhm.
humanitarianism and bringing that out. Pluto is
Mm.
death and destruction, so it's kind of like grounding that energy, right? um
Mhm.
oh, wait a second, I'm sorry, Mars is conjunct, or Pluto's, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not going to talk about that one because I don't remember if it's your Mars. Hold on a second, where's it at?
Well,
I'm
do
sorry.
you how much of
Anyways,
this is me, how much of this is me turning 50? And I know you mentioned the word midlife crisis, which I've been trying to
yeah.
reframe as a midlife awakening. But yeah,
Well, and that's exactly what
I
it
do feel
is.
that yeah. And so let me ask you this: how does that play out? So for me, it's a 50-year-old. When you know me, my life pretty well. How do you think those changes are going to play out, or you don't know? They're just things that you see brewing.
So I don't really know. I mean, we can look into your future, but you right now also the North Node is in Aries. So the North Node is going to be going over your Venus. It's going to be going, and I know that you don't know what that means, but there's going to be a lot of transformation for you in your
Hmm.
career over the next couple of years. And I don't know how it's going to play out, but my
Good or
guess is that
bad?
it's going to play
What do
out.
you mean by
I honestly,
transformation? Good or bad?
well, I don't look at it as good or bad because, like you said,
Uh,
everything has its place, right? So
yeah.
I don't know how that's going to play out for you, but
Mm.
there's always going to be something that you're going to learn, and you are that type of person that takes what you learn and applies it to life.
I
You
try. I don't know. I don't know if that's
No,
true, but I try.
no, you do it. I mean, John,
Uh-huh.
I've watched you. I mean, like the whole reason that I'm even sitting here doing this, like in podcast with you, is because you were actually a digital mentor for me while I
Mm.
was working on my hours, because
Yeah.
I saw how you were showing up as a therapist, and I was like, that's how I want to be. And
Mm.
just by watching you, and I mean, it's not like I stalk your social media or anything like that, but I watch when things pop up and it's relating or whatever. But you are very open and you share things about your life and your past experiences and how you get to where you are. You are somebody who has what we call worked your chart. You are taking the high road of what you were meant to be doing in this life. Okay. So now that's actually like your life lesson, right? Your life lesson is to know yourself, to release any need for
Right.
perfection.
Right.
You need constant intellectual stimulation. So you need people in your life who are going to challenge you, who are going to
Sure.
challenge you to think differently, who are going to, really kind of get in there and be like, wait, make you think. Okay. And
Hmm.
think differently. You are very introspective. You put you and your body's well-being above everything, no matter what, because that is what you like. That is what you've said that you were going to do in this life. You are going to put you and your health and your well-being above everything, because if you don't, then you can't show up the way you are supposed to show up in this world.
Hmm.
Um, People could see you as closed off or unfriendly sometimes,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
that's,
I think a lot of
yeah,
people in public think I'm a dick. That just because the
it's,
resting bitch face and yeah, I'm not a
exactly.
smiley
And
guy.
you can be serious, but you challenge yourself to be imaginative. There's
Mm.
some aspects in your chart that maybe like bringing the imagination in is actually somewhat of a struggle, or maybe at some point in your life it was, and you've had to really work on allowing that imagination to really just kind of be fueled by your fire.
Mm. Hmm.
But that's
Can
what
I
your
ask
life
you?
lessons are.
So one of the things I've been struggling with, and this is me getting more specific.
Yeah,
Um,
please.
It's interesting because I'm a really big believer in, and I talk about how, every part of your story will be used, right? And so an example of that
Mhm.
is, I used to think I was a failed screenwriter, but the 10 years of sitting in coffee shops, training myself to write what I see or write what I saw, and also like the discipline of knocking out 10 pages a day has helped me tremendously writing self-help books, right? And this is why I'm able to
Mhm.
pump out books pretty fast. And also, if you know my writing, it's very visual. Even though I don't have a vocabulary, I can write what I see, and all that is because of 10 years of screenwriting. And so I feel like that was meant to happen. I just wasn't meant to write screenplays, you know. But I did have a
That's
little
exactly
dance.
it.
I have a little dance with Hollywood, and that Hollywood has always been. I also grew up in L.A. Hollywood has always been kind of the hot girl that I've always tried to get her attention, but she was kind of ignoring me. And so recently, now, I mean, shit, 30 years later, um, it's been kind of subtly knocking on my door. I had a major network option. I used to be miserable fuck for a possible TV show that didn't work out. So it's like I keep getting hurt. I keep getting kind of like
Mhm.
teased, if you will, and it's very activating because when Hollywood calls, um, I feel like, oh, the hot girl's finally calling, but she's just saying what's up. I still don't know if she is she interested, is she not interested, that kind of thing. And so most recently, I've been struggling because there's a TV project, an unscripted project, and it's my idea, so of course I'm very invested in it. And there's a lot of not yeses, but not nos, and a lot of waiting by the phone. And I'm trying to kind of self-soothe and not put a lot of weight on it. It tugs on my pseudo
Mhm.
self, who I used to be, which is like chasing shiny things. Like all of that is happening. So I kind of want to know if that is my path or not. Like I would rather know, do I invest in that medium, or do I just don't do that because it's not meant for me, and I still don't know because it kind of knocks and teases, but nothing is really manifested right as of now. Although something could happen tomorrow,
So,
I don't know.
and that's exactly it. So, therapist to therapist, this is that whole like being there, being in the present moment without being
Hmm.
attached to the outcome,
Yeah,
right? The anxiety comes because it's that fear of the unknown, and because you've had all this disappointment after disappointment, you're chasing, you're not attracting. I'm using your words on you now.
yeah,
You
I
talk a lot
know,
about the
I know you are, which is unfair. No, it is totally fair. Yes, absolutely. I think that's what I'm very aware of that, and that's being aware
yeah,
of that, and then the work would be to work through that, and also a reminder that we all snap back, right? So, but if you look
right.
at the stars, do you see that as my path? Do you think that that this project that I've already gone out with, do you think that that's going to manifest, or you don't know the star? You can't tell by the
So
stars, or what's
yeah, I
next for
really
me as
can't.
far as.
I can't really tell, like, and even like energetically, I don't, I hesitate to say this, but my first thought is you don't belong in Hollywood. You're like Hollywood.
Mm.
You're supposed to rise above Hollywood. You're not meant to like Hollywood. That's not your thing. But I think
What's
that
rising above
because,
Hollywood Instagram?
well, no, right when I say rising above Hollywood is because um you're so engulfed in Hollywood, and you've
Yeah,
been
because I grew up
engulfed in
here.
Hollywood your entire life. If
Yeah,
you were to remove yourself from Hollywood and see like what else is out there, like of course my mind is going to like Washington, like politics, things like that, but that's my brain. And I do believe that that's like rising above Hollywood.
yeah,
um
sure.
but and that's why, like, I don't know that a TV show is actually what you are meant to be doing. Like
Yeah,
intuition wise, I don't feel that for you, but that's just, I can't say that for sure. I didn't look at your
yeah,
astrology for that. I know your career is going to change significantly over the next couple of years. And if you want to have a conversation, like I could go on I separate from this astrology reading, there's a whole different conversation that I could have about this that I actually think would benefit you a lot, but I don't want to have it recorded as part of your reading, because it's like it's above. For me that
Personal
is
career
rising up.
stuff.
It's personal career stuff, but it's also rising above the Hollywood aspect for you. Um,
Yeah.
and also going into like, I would love to actually go into the synastry aspects of charts with you, because I think that also would help you with your career. But again, I don't want to record that piece, because the only
Yeah. Yeah. That would
relationship
be.
that I have to like look at synastry and explain it to you is my chart with your chart, and I can explain our dynamics, what I have felt. And this goes into the transference countertransference aspect of people, or the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to talk to you about like what I have experienced in relation to you, and then how you have experienced me, because the whole reason we're connected is because I responded to an ad that you put out on social media looking for interns. I jumped on
Right.
it, but since
Yeah.
then, like, for me, the timing of that to me was totally in the stars, 100% in the
Yeah,
stars.
I agree, and I gotta say, and we'll kind of wrap this up with also what I felt through this and what I think is really powerful. But yeah, in the short period that I've known you, from us, a handful of strangers just kind of sitting in my garage, to what you're doing now, to even now us having this conversation and you taking this approach, um, I've seen you like skyrocket. I've seen you. Um, you have so much energy, and I see you doing, I see you really actively playing in your sandbox right now. And when I first met you, I think you were scared. I know you were like, you know what, I have this tug to be unique and different, and I feel I want to go there, but a therapist wears this kind of hat. Is it oil and water? I don't know. But now, because you're doing it, you just did in for the last hour in real life, you're coming into your own. And so it's been really
Hmm.
cool watching you come into your own. A lot of people that have crossed my path, interns, therapists, people on social media that I've either connected or, had the privilege of like watching their story. I love it when I see people kind of coming into their own, finding their cape. And I see you doing it now. So yeah, it's really beautiful.
Yeah. And like I said, there's a lot there, and I can talk to you in this, that could actually take your, because you focus a lot on relationships, the synastry piece that I could
Yeah,
do and I can talk to you about, that could take that to a whole different level. Like, I've actually thought, like, I
sure.
know that there's apps and stuff that connect people, but they don't look at certain aspects that I look at. And I like the energy that we have to get, like, just sitting here having this conversation. It's because I have a lot of fire in my chart. So our
Yeah, I know
fire
we are
really
talking over each
matches.
other, which is not a bad thing. Yeah, there's a lot of passion. There's a
No,
lot of yeah, two
exactly.
people.
and
Yeah.
and I also have a lot of air, like, not actually
Mhm.
in my chart, but like as far as planets, but in other
Mhm.
areas like houses and stuff. But I am that our synastry together, like, there's almost this, you saw something in me, but you also knew I
Mhm.
wasn't ready. And
I don't
then I
I
would,
don't know that, but yeah,
well, I
sure,
think, I
maybe.
think that you, yeah, I think that you saw something in me, but then you also knew that I was like, you could also see that I wasn't fully secure in who I was as a person and as a therapist and in my career. So that whole sandbox that you were talking about, right? I think that if you actually take a step back and pay attention to that, like, but again, you're in your world, I was in my world, so I
Yeah,
experienced it differently than you did. But I would love to have a conversation and talk about the the intertwined energy, because yeah, there's so many, and I'm also a Taurus. I have a lot of
mhm.
earth energy, so I also bring that earth element to the conversation.
I think, I don't feel like I'm that intuitive, but I do believe that one of my gifts that I'm meant to share with the world is spotting rock stars. I've been pretty good at spotting uniqueness or seeing something in someone, even if it's a seed, and knowing, okay, that's gonna be special. And of course, everyone's a rock star. It's more about unearthing what is your natural gift. And so I've in my story, I've come across a lot of people where I'm like, oh, that person's unique. That person's gonna thrive, and it's just a matter of them getting out of the way of themselves, kind of thing. So, um, anyway, I wanna
I am
say that. Oh, good.
I want to challenge you on one thing though. You actually do have a high intuition because of some aspects of your chart. Trust it
Mm,
more. You just said that,
yeah, I don't think I
you have
practiced that.
it.
I don't think I practiced trusting it.
Yeah, and it's in the
It's a tool. It's a
trusting
tool that I have
it.
not used. Yeah.
Right. And I would even challenge you to check in with yourself in regards to this whole thing in your career, because I wonder if there's something internally that it's not where you're supposed to be, but you don't want to accept it and you keep chasing it because it's the dream that you've been chasing since you were a kid.
Yeah, it's also part of me is like it's a different media to play with. It's a different playground. I've been active writing and in social media for a long time, podcasting for a long time, and I mean not a long time, but I mean 700 episodes. And so to me, television just kind of feels like the next natural playground to see what I can do with the creative space, and so that excites me. But yes, I don't know if that's where I'm meant to go or not. We will
Yeah.
see. We will see what happens in the next year or
Yeah,
two.
we will
Um,
see.
hey, I wanna
But
I wanna say thank you for doing this. You know
yeah,
what I found
absolutely.
really powerful is and if you're listening, think about what you found powerful from this exchange. Is one, it's really hard for us to understand ourselves because we're only looking through ourselves through our own lenses, right? So having this outside perspective, and it's not just an opinion because you're backing your opinion with stars and history and all this kind of expertise. And then also the other hat you wear as a therapist. So the psychology behind that, I think that's very powerful. I think when it comes to relationships, this can be so helpful. Like we were talking a little bit briefly about Vanessa and I and the sounds and how our stars and how she grounds me and my pattern of getting in too deep or falling out of love. Like to me, that's kind of an older pattern. But yes, these things all help me understand myself better. So when I'm in relationship, I can choose different or be like this or work on that, right? And I think that's extremely valuable. So
100%.
I love this. I love it, and I'm gonna pay for a session for you to do with Vanessa. So I think this is great. And then also I love where you're going. I love your courage. I just want to applaud it for
Thank
you
you.
to even say, "Hey, I want to play with this, and I want you to be a guinea pig, and let's see where it goes." And your openness. I think it's great. I also know that you specialize in ADHD and all that. That which
Hmm.
is a whole nother layer.
Yes,
So yeah, I thank you for doing this. Where
of
can
course.
we find you? There's going to be people listening, and I'm pretty sure they're going to want a session from you. So um,
Okay.
I think social media, but also give us your email if you're cool with that.
Yeah. So my email is Christina M Fitch at gmail.com.
Wait, did you
So
say
Chris,
the Christina?
no, just
Oh,
Christina,
sorry.
C H
Oh,
R,
Christina M. Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
Christina, M is
M.
in Marie,
Yeah.
Fitch, F is in Frank, ITCH at gmail.com. I'm also on Instagram as the Atypical Therapist. And yeah, I'm working on my website too, and so we'll see about getting that up and running.
Can I
But
ask you
yeah.
this? Anyone that is listening to this, because I plan to air this, and
Hmm.
you email Christina, say that you discovered her from this episode of my podcast, and maybe you can give them, some kind of discount or something for a session,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
so they get something for being the first.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. All right.
100%.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and
Of course.
I'm super excited about your story.
Thank you. And thank you
Yeah.
for being my guinea pig.
You're welcome, always. All right, be well.
Okay, bye.